Now, we are going to get into our message. And do we have any foodies here? Any foodies? Yeah, okay. Here's how you could tell you're a foodie. If when giving directions to somewhere, you only use food as the way to find the place. In other words, go down Crown Valley till the Jack in the Box. You make a left at Jack in the Box, you'll see a McDonald's. You make a U-turn where the Chick-fil-A is, and then that's where you are. That's how you know you're a foodie. Or if you allow food to dictate if you're having a good time or not. Have you ever done that? It's like it could be grandma and grandpa's 50th wedding anniversary, but if the food stinks, you're leaving early. You're like, oh, I'm sorry, Mama and Papa, the food's not very good. I'm going to go to In-N-Out on the way home. Like if you allow food to dictate if you're going to have a good time or not, then you may be a foodie. We see it everywhere. We see it on TV. We see cooking shows, baking shows, cupcake wars. That is an oxymoron in itself. You don't see cupcake and wars together very often. But they have these judges, and then they judge if the thing is the best or not. And we are totally obsessed with this, with food and all that it encompasses. We spend days getting ready for Thanksgiving. We organize our weekends around where we're going to have dinner. Have you ever tried telling your spouse, where do you want to go? No, you pick. No, seriously, sweetie, you pick. No, it's fine, you pick. All right, I don't know, In-N-Out. No, I'm not going to go there. It's like, then just please pick something and I'll say yes, We organize our lives around this, and we have this kind of bipolar relationship with food. We need it to live, and we don't often see it as important or as not as important as we should. Okay, sometimes we look at it as not that big of a deal when it should be looked at as more of a big deal. I'll give you an example. Now, I was at a restaurant with some members of our church. We were at the Rancho Capistrano Winery, and they had wine glasses in front of them. I had a beer glass in front of me. There was a woman who doesn't go to this church, but she expressed me in a very angry way. She sent me a message. She said, "You're a pastor, and it looks terrible for a pastor to have a beer in front of them." Nope. And okay. Anyways, so I'm at this place, and there was a beer. And listen, if you have a problem with alcohol, I would definitely not suggest drinking around people that have that. Alcoholics do not. If you're going to drink in front of them, know that that's going to be something that's going to trigger them. However, everybody at the table was not alcoholics, and I just had a beer and was watching. And she said, "That's terrible. You should not call yourself a pastor. My pastor never drinks. My pastor tells us that as a church we can't drink, and my pastor's staff does not drink. That's fine for you and your pastor and your church." However, I said, "Well, do you have donuts?" And she said, "Of course I do." I'm like, "Well, that's also could be a trigger for some people." That's crazy. You can't compare alcohol and donuts. Sure you can. Because if you have too much sugar, it's going to affect your health negatively. Just like if you have too much alcohol, it's going to affect your life negatively. It's going to tear your life apart. Right now, we have a lot of pastors, though, patting ourselves on the back, saying drinking is bad, it's the devil. I heard one pastor say alcohol is the devil's urine. I was like, okay, that sounds like a shot. But it's terrible. And again, I'm not promoting alcohol. I know these are live. I'm not telling, I get it. It's a bad, serious thing. But if you have a beer with a pizza, I don't think you're necessarily sinning the worst sin ever. It's just one of those things. It's a preference. But I said, it's the same thing. She says, no, it isn't. And I said, here's the deal. We have a lot of pastors out there patting themselves on the back that have major health issues, that are massively overweight, that have high cholesterol, that have high blood pressure, that continue to eat meat. And they're the first ones to say alcohol is the worst thing you can do. You got to be careful with that stuff, guys, because everything's got to be in moderation. Could you abuse alcohol and ruin your life? Absolutely, you can. But if you do it in moderation, and if it's just once in a while, that's not somehow the worst thing, and then we're going to ignore all of it. Have you ever been to a church potluck? Those are not they're not seeing carrots anywhere near there, or celery sticks. You are seeing mashed potatoes and gravy and macaroni and cheese and all of that stuff, right? So we've got to really take a look in the mirror at ourselves and go, are we looking at everything with moderation? Is our relationship with food healthy or not healthy? And we got to have to look at that as well. Now, we also have a thing called comfort food. Now, for me, comfort food is like McDonald's. It's not something you do all the time because it's really bad for you, or KFC, right? KFC is great comfort food. But to Melanie, that would be uncomfort food because she detests that kind of food, right? So she would like, that's not comfortable at all. It would give me anxiety to eat at KFC. What is your comfort food, Melanie? It would be like a salad with some tri-tip in there. That's comfort food for Melanie. That's a comfort like appetizer for me, right? So we have different tastes, but we still use food as a way of some comfort. Now, there are a lot of rules, honestly, about food as well and taste. It's societal. And some of those rules about food that are societal are unspoken, and some of them are very overt. But if you were to look back in the Bible actually has very serious rules about food and about taste and about things like that. Especially in the Old Testament, when you see in Deuteronomy, God actually, in the scriptures, it actually has specific rules around food. For example, in Deuteronomy 14:7, it says, don't eat camels. I've never had a camel. I'm assuming it's not great. But in Deuteronomy 14:9, fins and scales, don't eat them. Okay. In Deuteronomy 14:12, all the birds. These are here that's the law. That's what you cannot do. And when you look at that, we have that thing with food. We have those rules, but we also have our taste as well. And when you look at taste in the Bible, it means a lot of different things. They could use this one term to describe many things. For example, in Proverbs 25:16, it's a good proverb. If you eat too much honey, you'll vomit. Okay, that's a good proverb. Joel 1:14, it commands us to, in some cases, fast, and in some cases, feast. So there's difference. In Leviticus 23:4, Leviticus tells us we're not to consume anything we grow, kill, or collect ourselves because we ought to give the first and best to God. Okay? And that's where we get tithing from, by the way, too. In Psalms 34:8, it says, later a psalmist tells us to taste and see that the Lord is good. And in Psalms 119:103, the word of the Lord is sweet. Now, what we can gather from all of this is that it uses the word taste to mean a lot of different things. Okay, these are all individual books with individual authors, and it means different things to all of these different authors. For example, it actually means 6 different things. So when you talk about taste, it means 6 different things. It could mean sensation, the capacity to perceive flavor. It could mean portion, the amount needed to sample something. It could mean somebody's opinion, the preference of a particular person. It's their taste. It can mean discretion, the knowledge of what is acceptable or appropriate. It means impression, the overall impact something has on you. And it means sophistication, the ability to discern what is high value, quality, and culture. Here's what I mean when I'm saying this. It doesn't all just mean taste. It doesn't all just mean physical taste. It means a lot of different things. And that's why, friends, it's important to study the Bible and not to read the Bible. If anybody could read the Bible, but if you're not getting anything from it, it's just a waste of time. I have heard people said, I've read the Bible 4 times. Yeah, but you're not doing anything that it says, so who cares? You've got to study it. You got to meditate it. You got to let it sink into you. You got to live out what it says. And that's what God's asking us to do. Now, there is a story in the Bible, and it's of Peter. And in this story, it has to do with food, but it also doesn't. So it kind of does and it kind of doesn't. But it's an interesting example of what we're talking about today. In in Acts 10:9, it says this. About noon the following day, as they were on their journey and approaching the city, Peter went up on the roof to pray. He became hungry and wanted something to eat. And while the meal was being prepared, he fell into a trance. Okay. So have you ever been, I've had different trances for that. Like I've been to have you ever done this where you go to like Cheesecake Factory and you're starving and you smell the food? And you're like, yes, James, party of 4. Okay, great. That'll be either 30 to 45 minutes. And you're at the, what is it, 30 or 45 minutes? I'm starving, right? That's 15-minute difference. Can you tell me when and you kind of get into those trances of all you could think about is food and you can't think of anything else until they call your name, right? I mean, at that point, do you want indoor or outdoor? Just put me in the parking lot. I don't care. Just bring me food. I'm starving kind of a thing. But here's the deal. Peter's in a different trance. And it has to do with some food, yes. And if you think about it, he's on the roof and he's smelling the food, so that makes sense. But if you're wondering, what does that trance look like? To fall in a trance is to see beyond what's in front of you to something more. And that's what Peter starts to see. He starts to see something different. In Acts 10:11, it says, he saw heaven opened and something like a large sheet being let down to earth by its 4 corners. It contained all kinds of 4-footed animals, as well as reptiles and birds. Then a voice told him, get up, Peter, kill and eat. Now, what makes this story so interesting is Peter's a part of a tribe. Now, we all have our tribes. We do. Peter is a part of he's Jewish, so he's got the Israelite tribe. That's his tribe. And Peter is well aware of what Scripture says about food and about eating. And the voice is telling him to do something contrary to what the law says. Now, this isn't something that Peter would have just passingly heard. They were devout with this. They were very devout. You can't eat what this vision is telling him to do. He's saying it's not kosher. It's not what we would do. Okay, so Peter is going to say no, but God will say yes. In Acts 10:14, Peter says, "Surely not, Lord." Peter replied, "I've never eaten anything impure or unclean." The voice spoke to him a second time, "Do not call anything impure that God has made clean." Now, Peter identifies God's voice. He knows it's God. But he's saying, "No, God, I think you're wrong because the rules say this. So I think you're wrong on this." God's like, "Yeah, I know. I wrote it. And no, I want you to do this." Here's the idea. He's saying, "God, your request," and this is something that happens to a lot of Christians, "your request is against my religion. So therefore, no, because I have so many rules with my religion that I can't go out and do that." Guys, religion is actually a good thing. It's a good thing. It's a good thing because it gives you a framework of what you believe. It gives you that guided framework. But you are not meant to worship a religion. You're meant to worship Jesus. You go directly to that source. Okay? So let me give it to you in this way. The point of religion is to give a framework to know and understand and connect with God. But in this instance, Peter's religion is in the way of him knowing and understanding and connecting with God. Now, how do you say that? Because God just told him, "You're wrong, Peter. This is what I want you to do." Now, vision is really a metaphor. Visions are often metaphors. And the metaphor here is, it wasn't about what food you should put in your body, but about what people God insists are a part of his body. Now, the Bible refers to God as the body. In fact, the church is the body of Christ. That's how God refers to the church, the body of Christ. And we are so used to being in our tribes that we kind of forget about that and we focus on our rules because we love our rules. We do. We love our rules. We love our tribes. And we don't want to think of anything else. And God is saying, "No, I want you to understand that that's not how my tribe works." See, my tribe is going to include everybody. He knows that he's going to use Peter to further his church. He knows that. But to do that, he's got to go outside of his own tribe to other tribes. See, what is tribalism? Tribalism says the point of life is to protect and preserve your tribe. And if you're not like us, we're not for you. And God is saying, "Listen, Peter, that's not how my tribe works. You don't understand. I want everybody to be in my tribe. Everybody. I want everybody to have a relationship with me and know me." Okay? That's what I want. And it's been that way from the very beginning. We see from as far back as Genesis 18:18. It says, "Abraham will surely become a great and powerful nation, and all nations on earth will be blessed through him." Did you catch that? All nations. It does not say Israel only will be blessed by him. It says all nations will be blessed by him. That means who Jesus is and the life that God can give us is meant for everybody. That's not to say everybody accepts it, but it's meant for everybody. It's meant for everybody who wants it. Okay? Guys, got to remember this. Following God is outwardly focused, not inwardly focused. You cannot be a Christ follower and keep it a secret. It doesn't work that way. You cannot be a Christian and hold it only to yourself. It doesn't work that way. I'm not telling you to go out and judge people. That doesn't work that way either. But what I'm saying is you can't go, "God's done all these really good things in my life, but I just want to keep it a secret because I don't want anybody thinking I'm trying to push my faith on them and da-da-da-da-da, so I'm just going to keep it really, really tight." And when somebody asks you, "Are you a Christian?" you kind of like, yeah, I'm spiritual and I believe to just be a good person, but I don't really want to tell them what I really believe because then I don't want anybody thinking something weird of me. But they don't go that way, guys. To be a Christ follower is to share your faith. Otherwise, when you accept Jesus, you would automatically go to heaven. There's no more point in you being on earth. Why is it I'm still on earth after I accept Christ? So that you can share the word. So you can tell others about it. Okay? Now, our goal as a church is not to be in this little Christian huddle and just, pat each other on the back until Jesus comes back. Our goal is to extend this tribe. Everybody who wants to come. Anybody who wants to come. Okay? We are here for them. Next week, guys, we have an amazing opportunity. next Sunday, 7 days from now, we have an incredible opportunity to invite people. Guys, I've been inviting a lot of people. I mean, a lot of people. And some of them have literally said, I'll go to church when hell freezes over. And I keep inviting them. Just come on in. My little girls, they're inviting all their friends. And their friends, some of them are Christians, some of them are not. Some of them are different religions and faiths and all these other things. They are all welcome here. Is this a Christian church? Yes. But what if I'm Muslim? Can I come? Yes. What if I'm Mormon? Yes. What if I'm an atheist? Yes. Yes, yes, and yes. I'm not going to change somebody's heart. God is, but I can invite him to a relationship with him. So yes, everybody is welcome here, guys. You see, God's heart is that his tribe be known, not for keeping certain people out, but for inviting everyone in. That's how God's tribe works. Okay? I think a lot of times we just get used to our little Christian huddles and we just kind of focus on other Christians. You got to invite everybody. Let everybody know. And that, guys, is what the metaphor was with the vision that Peter got. Okay? It wasn't just about food. Acts 10:16. This happened 3 times, and immediately the sheet was taken back to heaven. God repeats this to Peter 3 different times. He's patient. He's like, I'm not just going to say it once and bail. I'm going to repeat it over and over and over. God is patient, and if there's something he really wants you to see, know, or do, he's going to keep putting it in front of you. So in Acts 10:17, it says, while Peter was wondering about the meaning of the vision, the men sent by Cornelius found out where Simon's house was and stopped at the gate. And then in verses 19 and 20, it says, while Peter was still thinking about the vision, the Spirit said to him, Simon, 3 men are looking for you. So get up and go downstairs. Do not hesitate to go with them, for I have sent them. Now we start to see what this was about. This vision wasn't about food anymore. It was about something much larger. Okay, the people that were at the door were unclean, outsiders, Gentiles, okay? And you can't invite them in because they're part of a different tribe. So you can't do that. So you got to kick them out, right? No, God says, no, I want you to bring them in. Guys, God is going to give everybody here a vision. If you go to God, if you genuinely go to God and say, God, I need to know what to do about this thing. What do you want me to do with my life? Take my life over, and what do you want me to do? He will give you a vision. But hear me clear. A lot of Christians allow vision to stay in the vision realm. Every single vision God gives you is meant to be incarnate, meaning you have to do something with it. And so I hear a lot of hot air from Christians saying, God's given me a vision to reach the world. Then do it. Stop talking about it. God's given me a vision to invite my neighbor. Then get off your butt and do it. But stop talking. We have got the best talkers in our tribe. You know, if you look around to a lot of these, you look around all these different, go to all these different churches all around. They tell you everything they're going to do one day. Great. Then go do it. And then when it comes down to actually doing it, well, we're in a committee right now. We're discussing how to get, I can't stand committees. I don't know about you. I can't. I hate bureaucracy. That's why I don't know, and I don't want to be political, but I don't know why people want such a big government, because it's like nothing gets done. Just go do it. Stop talking about it. Just go and make it happen. Every vision God gives you guys, if you go to him, he will give you a vision of what he wants you to do. Whether it's get his word more, whether it's to get out of a toxic relationship, whether it's to get to church more, whether it's to invite somebody, then do it. Don't talk about it. For Peter, it finally clicks. And in Acts 10:28 says, he said to them, you are well aware that it is against our law for a Jew to associate with or visit a Gentile. But God has shown me that I should not call anyone impure or unclean. So when I was sent for, I came without raising any objection. May I ask why you sent for me? Now, Peter resisted this, but it clicks for him, and he invites these people in. Okay? That decision impacts us today, because very few of us are actually Jewish by birth. Okay? So what this is saying now is everybody is now welcome in this tribe. Even whether you're Irish or Italian or Mexican or Puerto Rican or a mutt, whatever it is, right? You're all welcome now in this tribe, and it is no longer just meant for the Israelites tribe. Okay? So, make no mistake, guys, we're all here as the result of someone believing that what God was doing included us. You're here because somebody invited you. You're here because somebody spoke into your life. And guys, I'm bummed to see what's going on out there. I actually spent the week looking at all of these different messages and stuff. And guys, we've got some of the most amazing speakers out there. It's just phenomenal. And there are churches doing some phenomenal things. And guys, honestly, you can get lost in a small church just the same as you can get lost in a big church. I get that. But honestly, what I'm seeing right now, as I see the cameras panning around, I think the American church has gotten so lazy and we forgot what it looks like to reach out to other tribes. We have turned our churches into something of, we're competing for more Christians to come to this church instead of going to that church. By giving, so people are literally like consumers. Like, what are you going to give me? Well, if you come here, we'll give you this, this, this. If you come here, we'll give you this, this, and this. And they're not really loyal to any of it. They're just going to whoever's going to give me the most at that time. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to say, okay, listen, let's cut out all the stuff. Let's just get right to the point, and let's really start to build those relationships. Guys, I was really sad to see that so many people just go and out of convenience, and they don't go to build a church, or they don't go to build a community or invite people into the community. I saw this one this man talking. He's from a church that's a really famous church in Dallas, and the senior pastor, it came out that he had an inappropriate relationship with a 12-year-old when he was younger. He was like 20-something, I think, at that time, and she was 12. And it continued till she was 17. And he had an inappropriate relationship with her. And it finally came out to the open. Nobody believed her, and then it finally came out in the open. And the pastor resigned, and they kind of pushed it under the rug. And then this elder came out, and he was explaining what happened in a general way, and he was crying, and he was very emotional, and I'm sure that brother was hurting as well. I get it. But he said something that clicked for me, and it made it very interesting. He said, I wish I could sit down and talk with all of you. So I'll just tell you the story. I'm like, hey, friend, you should sit and talk with all of them. The person they trusted as their shepherd, as their pastor, was messing around with a 12-year-old kid. You darn right owe it to these people to sit with every one of them and talk with them. You can't do it with 20,000 people. And so, and we, for whatever reason, are okay with that. I was like, I appreciate you trying to help you and protect the brand, but dude, you need to sit down with all of those people. You owe them an explanation of why this was covered up for so long. But we've been okay with just coming into this stadium, hearing a message, and then leaving the stadium. This has to be a point, guys, where we have to go, listen, no, we have got to be able to sit and talk with people instead of talking at them. That's what this church is committed to, you guys. Do I want to expand our tribe? Yes. Do I want to grow our church? Absolutely. I want to further God's kingdom. But I never want to get to the point where if somebody needs to meet with me, I can't meet with them. I don't want to get to that point. Because now I'm just a speaker. Now I'm just, I could be an evangelist, but I'm not a pastor anymore because I have no relationship with you anymore. And so I want to make sure that we never lose that. So what does Peter do with them? He has dinner with them. And for that time, guys, dinner with somebody like that was really bad because it was basically saying, I approve of you. And that was not good. So you see Jesus, that happened to him too. When he would have dinner with tax collectors, people would get really upset. Like, what are you doing? These are tax collectors, and they're bad, and they're dope. And he's like, I just want to meet with them and hang out with them. And it means much more than just food. It actually means I love you and I want to spend time with you. One of the best ways to show love is to share food, you guys. Okay? I have such great memories of getting to know people from our church by just hanging out with them. I could tell you a lot of stories about people that are in this room. You know, right? I just looked up at Brett, and I remember we met at Mama's, and we just talked for a long time, and I was just like, and now I'm so proud of him because he's wearing a Hawaiian shirt. So, but sharing meals is often how outsiders become insiders, how strangers become friends, and acquaintances start to feel like family. Okay? And if you are a Christ follower, guys, this isn't just an interesting observation. It is an actual command. We're commanded to get to know people. We are commanded to bring people into the fold. into a relationship with Jesus Christ. Now, I'm going to read a passage here, and I would like if somebody can bring me up a communion thing. Vic, can you give me that, or somebody? Thank you very much. Thank you, Miss Christina. And if you want, you could try to get the cracker out now, because I've seen people, like, when I'm starting to do, like, the cracker part, and they're, like, frantically sweating, like, oh, I got to get this out. Oh, my gosh, I'm going to be late. You might want to get that out now. Okay, I'm going to read the passage of the communion before we actually receive communion. Now, here's the interesting thing. In Matthew 26:26, it says this. Jesus is with his, before we receive communion, I'm going to read this and then I'll lead us in it. But Jesus is with his disciples, and he is what? He is sharing a meal with them. Okay, he's choosing to do this, and he uses a metaphor of food to describe what he's going to do. So this was recorded by Matthew. Matthew is there, he's taking notes, and he records it this way. While they were eating, Jesus took bread, and when he gave thanks, he broke it and gave it to the disciples, saying, "Take and eat, this is my body." And then in verse 27, he says, "Then he took a cup, and when he had given thanks, he gave it to them, saying, 'Drink from it, all of you. This is my blood of the covenant, which is poured out for the forgiveness of sins.'" Now, guys, here's the thing. What exactly are we doing when we do this, when we receive communion? Because here's what I'm going to explain to you. Oftentimes, we look at communion as a religious ritual. We do it so many times that we don't even know what we're doing anymore. We just keep doing it. And we don't really understand the gravity of this. Jesus chooses to take the bread and the wine to say, I'm going to give you a metaphor of what I'm about to do. They don't understand this at this time. Make sure you understand this part. The disciples are completely confused to what Jesus is saying. They don't get it. They're like, I don't understand what are you talking about? Jesus understands exactly what's about to happen. And this is what's going to happen. He sees that happening. So when he says we're about to receive communion, that is what he's talking about. And when you receive communion, when you go to church, it's not about the bread and the juice. That's what it's talking about. That's the sacrifice. We've got to come back to the basics, guys. This is the basics. He did that for you and for me so that we could live freely, so that we wouldn't huddle in our tribe and keep it a secret, but so that we would go out and share that sacrifice. I'm going to ask you to leave it up, because this is what he did. He took the bread and he broke it, and he said, this is going to represent my flesh. It's not literal flesh, it's just a cracker. This is going to represent my flesh. And take it and remember the sacrifice that I'm going to give you. And he took the cup, knowing what was about to happen. And he said, this is going to represent my blood that is poured out for you, for the forgiveness of sins. That is what he's given up for us. That is what we need to share with other people. We need to remember that it's for everyone. As we close right now, I'm going to do something I've never really done before. I'm going to pray, but I'm going to leave the first just few little bit. I'm going to keep it quiet. I'm going to ask you to pray all on your own, okay? And I want you to say, God, who is it you want me to invest in? Who is it I could even invite next week to our grand opening? What is that going to look like? Give me a name. I promise you somebody will come into your mind, and no fair. You cannot go, no, somebody else. I can't talk to that person. You've got to put whoever he puts on your mind, you've got to put that down. After I say amen, I want everyone to get your paper and your pen. Everyone has it. And I want you to write down that name and hand it to Vic on your way out. Okay? Write down that name so I could join you in prayer. Guys, I need 100% of this, because we all know somebody that we could invest in. If you're not sure what you believe yet, then you're off the hook. But if you know that you have a relationship with Jesus and that this is something you could do to reach out to them, write it down and let us make sure that we're praying for you. But I need 100% participation from those of you who have said, yes, I've stepped across the line. So I'm going to pray right now, and I want you to just think about it for us a little bit. Jesus, I know that so many names are coming across our minds right now. Some of them we just said, no, anybody but that person. But you died for them too. You want a relationship with them too. God, none of us in this room have the power to change somebody's heart. Only you can do that. Only you can do that. But we do have the capacity to introduce what you've done for us to them. We can do that. I pray, Lord, that we don't just call ourselves a Christian because it sounds good, but we live it out. And we do this together as a community. God, I thank you so much for your church that I don't have to be alone. No matter how bad my week is, I know that Sunday I'm going to see a family that loves me and I love them back. I'm not going into some auditorium or some place where I don't know anybody and I could sneak in and sneak out and I can come to church whenever I kind of have the time. But I get to be here every Sunday to see people that I genuinely love and that genuinely love me. God, that has affected me personally in my walk with you. You know that. You know my struggles and my sins and my shortcomings. But I receive grace and love and hope every Sunday, God, from these people. And I want us to follow you, to expand this tribe we've got to everybody and allow you to do the life-changing. I love you, Jesus. We love you. This is your church, and we're so grateful that we get to be a part of history and plant a brand new church in San Clemente in 7 days from now. It's in your name. Amen.
South Hills Church, I just want to take a moment and say thank you for watching our service online. Whether you're watching it for the first time or you're watching it again because you enjoyed the service so much from the weekend, I'd like to take a moment and dive into our giving. Every week we give people the opportunity to give back and give to the local church so that God can continue to bless your lives and bless your finances. Here at South Hills, we believe that everything comes from God. We believe that He's the one that chose us and brought us into this world, gave us our gifts and talents and abilities. And I just want you to know that when we give, we are giving back what God has already given to us. If you've ever seen any of our envelopes at a South Hills campus, you'll see on there that it says, every week at South Hills, your generosity is giving people the opportunity to live a better story. And there's a scripture on there in Matthew chapter 6, verse 21 that says, where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. So I want to encourage you today to click down below and set up your giving, whether it's for the first time or whether you're doing reoccurring giving. We have 4 ways to give here at South Hills. 1, you can do it in person at any of our campuses through an envelope. Or 2, you can actually text any amount that you would like to 84321. And the 3rd way is to download our Church Center app. I encourage you to do this one because the Church Center app gives you opportunity to stay connected with our church and your campuses. It's a great tool and resource for you to know what's going on. And the 4th way to give is to give online. You can go to southhills.org/give and you can set up your giving there. Whether you're a guest of our church or whether you are a member of our church, or whether you simply just like to watch our services, I encourage you to trust God with your finances so that He can bless and anoint your finances and you can be trusting God in this journey of living life to the fullest. I love you and thank you for watching our online service today.